Okay, let's dive right into the chaos. RCW is back.
Yeah, after a bit of a break, wasn't it? Sports preemptions, some best of shows.
Exactly. Like a real off-season, which you almost never get in wrestling. It's what, 2 months since Supercard?
That's right. But this is the first time they're actually back taping Implosion in Orlando.
And based on this stack of sources, you've got these transcripts from the first taping back. Wow, it sounds like it came back with an absolute bang.
Oh, it definitely did. And our mission here, really, is to take these transcripts, these notes, and just cut through all the noise.
Makes sense.
We need to figure out what really went down, who the key players are shaping up to be, what the big moments tell us, and what this first taping signals for RCW going forward.
So we're kind of your guides through all this dense material, pointing out the important stuff.
That's the idea. Get you informed quickly, thoroughly.
Okay. And it looks like even before the camera started rolling, there was a ton happening backstage. Lots of conversations setting things up.
Absolutely. It's fascinating how much gets mapped out before the show even starts.
So what's the first big thing that jumps out from those backstage notes?
Well, right away, it's the talk around Travis Knox. Remember, unmasked, wheeled away at Supercard.
Right. Looked pretty bad.
Yeah, but he's back, shows up in a suit, wants to take his character, and I quote, in a completely different direction.
Interesting. A suit. Okay.
And the booker seems focused on using this return to finally deal with the Lord Oliver Sterling stuff, the history there.
The scars, right. The origin of Travis's scars, their old title feud. That's been dangling for ages.
Exactly. They're talking about tying up those loose ends, and they even float the idea, maybe for the next big show, of a three-way match.
Who's involved?
Sterling, Travis, and the current champ, Onyx, with a specific note that it could set up Sterling versus Travis afterward.
So it's strategic. Using Knox's return not just to bring him back, but to resolve old stories and potentially tee up a new major feud. You can really see the mechanics behind the storytelling.
Definitely. It raises that question, doesn't it? How much of what we see on screen is driven by these, almost clinical backstage decisions about who needs what next?
Yeah. And speaking of needs, what else were they talking about?
Well, speaking of filling spots, tag teams. The Booker's apparently worried the division is pretty thin.
Okay.
They mentioned Bruiser and Chris are kind of a ramshackle new team, and the whole situation with Jack is still up in the air. So there's a gap.
Right. And that need for teams, that probably explains this other controversial bit in the notes, the return of 9/11.
Bingo. That's the immediate connection. The Booker wants them back, even though, the history.
Yeah.
Former champs who just vacated the belts.
Yeah, didn't they just sort of leave?
Yeah.
Tuck their tails between their legs, I think was the phrase used.
That's exactly it. But the Booker's justification, reading between the lines here, is purely practical. One, they never lost the belts. Two, whatever the situation was, it's apparently in a good place now. And three, bottom line, they need teams.
Desperately.
But that must cause some friction, right? With guys who stayed. Oh, yeah. You see it right away with Bruiser. He apparently had a strong reaction. Like, hey, we stuck around through the tough stuff, and these guys just dipped out.
Can't blame him.
No. But the Booker basically acknowledges his loyalty, but says, look, the need for talent for established teams kind of outweighs that right now. It's that balancing act, isn't it? Loyalty versus roster needs.
It really is. What else was brewing back there?
Let's see. Oh, the Freak shows up. Literally living out of his van, apparently.
Okay, that sounds about right for the Freak.
Yeah, just asking what's next, even though his checks are clearing. Just a quirky character detail. And the Booker immediately thinks, okay, program with Lexi, the big new signing.
Putting the established oddball with the new hot prospect.
Pretty much. Freak's apparently okay with it, though he worries a bit about, working heel, maybe taking it too far. Booker just tells him, follow your instincts, stretching the veteran, basically.
Gotcha. Any word from Sterling himself?
Yes, actually. A key conversation. Sterling explicitly says he's in the last 100 meters of his career. Wants the one thing he hasn't got.
Let me guess. World Championship.
You got it. And the interesting thing, the Booker notes the irony, because Travis Knox had just suggested Sterling should be the one to take the belt off Onyx.
Whoa. So Sterling's personal goal and the backstage booking ideas are lining up.
Kind of serendipitous. Right, shows how different threads can just converge. Sterling also mentions needing a new partner for Earl Edwards.
Right, the Gentry.
Yeah, he suggests this young masked British guy, the Duke of Welwyn, from another promotion, proposes they debut tonight against the champs, Bruiser and Chris.
Debut against the champions. Bold.
Well, he frames it as a shy match, like The Duke will probably lose, but it makes his name. It's a little peek into how they introduce new talent, test them out.
Okay. And one last piece before the show starts.
Lexi arrives, drops off an envelope from Jack, a doctor's note, saying he'll be back soon.
Ah, so Jack is coming back.
Yep. And Lexi gets clearance to carry the FCW World Heavyweight title, the one they won in their home promotion.
By beating Jack, right. I remember reading that.
Exactly. So that's the first little hint of this connection, this history between Lexi and Jack. It seems small, but it becomes important. Lexi also mentions Nova will be late. Salon appointment.
Got it. So, okay, before the curtain even goes up, we've got Travis's new direction, the tag team drama with 9/11, Freak versus Lexi setup, Sterling's title ambition, a new team debuting, and these little connections between Lexi and Jack. It's a lot.
It's a complex web already being spun, yeah.
All right, so with all that buzzing backstage, the lights finally come up. First match time. The Gentry Earl, Kenneth Edwards III, and this new Duke of Welwyn guy with Lord Oliver Sterling facing the champs, Bruiser and Chris.
And the entrances immediately set the tone, the contrast. Gentry come out, new music. Sterling lets Earl take the spotlight.
Okay.
And Earl just leans into being a heel, references to the British Empire, even digs up Sterling's old controversial line about man, woman, or something in between.
Ooh, edgy. So the team is heelish, even if Sterling's maybe a face now.
Yeah, it's an interesting dynamic they're setting up. Puts heat on the team right away, a clear signal.
And then Bruiser and Chris.
Total opposite vibe. Bruiser cuts this intense, like really visceral promo, all about their background trauma, sirens, fighting to survive versus the Gentry's perceived privilege.
He gets personal.
Very. Calls them a mother-leaping delusion, promises to make them case file entry code 187, cause of death, royal arrogance. It's heavy stuff. Frames it as a class war almost.
Wow. Code 187 and Chris.
Chris just adds a quick, cocky line about, beating the British before, short and sweet.
So the match kicks off. How does it go?
Starts as a brawl, reflecting those promos. Then it settles down a bit, more traditional tag stuff. Earl uses some heel tactics, but Bruiser gets control pretty quickly, works the leg, shows his technical side, not just hardcore.
Right, Bruiser's got skills.
Then Chris tags in. There's a moment, a tag move, a wishbone apparently that's slightly off. Just a little miscommunication. Yeah, but Earl sells it big, crawls over, tags in the Duke.
Okay, the debutante. What's he like?
Smaller guy, plain mask. The instruction was apparently for him to be comedic. And he does these planned shenanigans. Yeah. A fake botched springboard crossbody.
You fake botched. Okay.
Yeah, confuses the crowd for a second, then they kind of get, it's intentional. Like clown college stuff, it's entertaining, shifts the mood a little, shows the Gentry aren't just one-no heels.
So a bit of comedy wrestling.
Then they hit a proper tag move, a rocket launcher, on Bruiser. Sterling suggested it from ringside, apparently. Duke gets a near fall, seems frustrated, Bruiser kicked out. Maybe a hint the comedy isn't all there is to him.
Okay. Building some intrigue with the Duke.
And then, bam, the explosive moment. The Duke stands up and takes off the mask.
Wait, what? Who is it?
It's Jack.
No way! Jack! The crowd must have lost it.
The transcripts say shock, then immediate noise.
Yeah.
And Jack's look is different, slicked back. Green bangs are back, takes off his shirt, shows the burn mark on his back, explicitly.
Wow. That burn mark from ages ago, they're bringing that back.
Bruiser's stunned in the ring. Sterling's yelling from ringside, finish him! This wasn't just a debut, it was a calculated reveal. Maximum impact changes everything for Jack.
Oh, what does Jack do?
Goes right for a running strike. Bruiser counters. But Jack reverses that into a DDT. A critical hit. Bruiser is out cold. Huge momentum shift. Jack capitalized instantly.
And then all hell breaks loose, I assume?
Pretty much. Chris sees Bruiser down. He spears Jack outside near the entrance. They start brawling. Earl tries to get back in, trips on the steps. Sterling distracts the ref. Chaos.
Just complete chaos.
And then, another surprise, top of the ramp, Malister appears.
Malister, Bruiser's dad.
That's the one. Looks like a hardcore vet. And he's got a barbed wire steel chair.
Oh my God. Okay, now we see where Bruiser gets the hardcore strike from.
Right. Visual storytelling. So the finish is messy. Malister swings the chair at Jack.
Does he connect?
Jack ducks. It hits Chris instead. Ouch. Jack scrambles back in, tags Earl. Sterling gets tossed by the ref for the earlier distraction. Meanwhile, Malister uses the chair again, breaks up Earl's pin attempt on Bruiser,
So that's interference.
causes the DQ. The Gentry win by disqualification. But honestly, the result feels secondary to the reveals in the mayhem.
Absolutely. The Jack reveal, Malister. What happens after the bell?
Total pandemonium continues. Chris attacks Earl. Malister swings the chair again. Sterling slides back in with his cane.
His cane. Seriously.
Yeah, because it's unexpected battle of the grandpas, Sterling's cane versus Malister's chair, yelling at each other. It's wild.
That's amazing.
Jack pulls Earl out. Chris grabs the tag belts and pulls Bruiser's way. And they go to commercial on just utter chaos.
Wow. Okay, so that first match wasn't just a match, it was a narrative bombshell. Jack's back, new look, new attitude, the history with Bruiser front and center, Malister involved, potential Sterling versus Malister, Gentry versus Bruiser Chris rematch. So much setup.
Exactly. And speaking of setting things up,
Yeah.
that other factor we talked about backstage, 9/11.
Right. What happened with them?
Well, come back from commercial. The cameras catch them backstage, just walking away calmly.
From what?
From Bruiser and Chris, laid out, put through catering tables.
Whoa. Okay, they didn't waste any time.
Nope. 9/11 cuts a promo right there,
Yeah.
basically saying, we're the real champs, promise to break Bruiser, ends it with medic. Brutal statement. Immediately establishes that feud, provides consequences for their return.
So Bruiser and Chris win their match by DQ, sort of, only to get taken out backstage moments later.
Okay.
Rough fight for the champs.
Very rough. And then the focus shifts. Main event time, Lexi's debut.
The big signing, what's the presentation like?
Powerful, modern. The description mentions Rhea Ripley-like vibes, piercings, gear with non-binary pride colors, very distinct look.
And they have the FCW title with them?
Yeah, the World Heavyweight title from their home promotion, the one they won from Jack. Important context establishes their cred, and that history just projects monster-class aura.
Okay. And the opponent?
The Freak, who comes out with his homeless crew, carrying weird weapons, toys, you know.
The Freak.
Yeah, that's his thing. Sets a certain tone.
Totally. And Freak cuts this promo. It's very him. Acknowledges Lexi, even acknowledges Jack, respects Pride Month, but doesn't, like, pander. It's weirdly respectful, but still unsettling. And then he suggests they skip the wrestling.
Skip the wrestling. What does he mean?
He challenges Lexi. Basically says, let's just make this no DQ hardcore. Right now.
And Lexi.
Described as panting, grinning, totally accepts. Says something like, FCW does hardcore too, and then just immediately clocks Freak with the microphone to start the match.
Wow. Okay, so a regular match instantly becomes no DQ because they just decide, and Lexi starts it with a mic shot. That gives Freak the advantage, right?
Yeah. Freak takes control right away because of the mic shot. Clotheslines, brutal forearms, hip attack in the corner, then this nasty leg drop onto the apron. Lexi looks rocked, like they got hit by a train. Freak looks dangerous, unpredictable, gets momentum fast.
But Lexi's supposed to be tough, right? Oh, yeah. Shows incredible resilience. Freak gets distracted. Lexi grabs the trash can. Bam. Headshot. Throws Freak into the barricade. Lexi absorbs punishment but fights back hard.
And then the shopping cart comes into play. Freak's cart.
Yep. Lexi looks at the cart tools. Glass, crowbar, nails, screws. Even a toy Megazord in there.
A toy Megazord, seriously.
Seriously. After a struggle over the crowbar, Lexi grabs a stapler.
Oh, God, a stapler.
Yep. The homeless crew looks genuinely freaked out now. Lexi just starts stapling Freak's forehead multiple times.
Stapling his head.
Yeah. And the notes say Lexi's grinning, laughing, says Freak is becoming a favorite person to wrestle. It's not just violence. It's showing Lexi's character intense, enjoys the chaos, maybe a little unhinged.
That's intense.
And then to underline it, Lexi staples their own forehead.
What? Staples their own head. Why?
Just pure toughness, I guess. Willingness to go to extremes, sends a message, then smacks Freak with the stapler gun. It establishes Lexi immediately as top-tier hardcore, not afraid of pain.
Okay, that's memorable. What's next? The Megazord.
You know it. Lexi grabs the toy, grabs a toolbox, dumps nails and screws near the announce desk, sets the jagged toy in the middle of the pile.
Oh, no, I see where this is going.
Picks up Freak, razor's edge, drives him right onto the nails, the screws, the broken plastic toy. Crowd apparently reacted huge. I gotta imagine Freak's back is shredded. Brutal spot. Shows off Lexi's finisher big time.
Just nasty. Is Freak done after that?
Looks like it. Lexi's dragging him back to the ring, but Freak pulls out flash paper, blinds Lexi for a second. Desperation move.
Flash paper. Okay, classic trick.
Buys him a moment. Whips Lexi into the steps. Picks something up, knocks him down again. Then signals Sentai Ranger.
One of the crew.
Yeah, the guy in the Power Ranger mask. Freak body slams him onto Lexi. Bizarre, but uses his environment, I guess.
Okay, this match is just nuts. What else?
Then the final twist. The old woman from Freak's crew gets in the ring, pulls Sentai Ranger off Lexi, then grabs the trash can and hits Freak over the head.
Hits Freak, her own guy. Who is she?
She takes off her shawl. It's Nova.
Nova. Wow, okay. That's a reveal. She was the old lady the whole time.
Apparently so. And her interference, hitting Freak, gives Lexi the opening.
So how does it end?
Lexi scoops Freak up for the power slam finisher. Freak tries to counter, maybe into the mandible claw.
Yeah.
But Nova kicks Freak low, a low blow.
Interference again, in a no DQ match.
Yep. Freak stumbles right into another power slam from Lexi. Lexi covers, gets the pin, wins the match. But the notes specifically say the finish is disputed due to the interference. Even in no DQ, Nova coming in unannounced makes it controversial.
Gotcha. So Lexi wins, but with an asterisk. What happens after?
Well, despite the brutal match and the screwy finish, Lexi helps Freak up, gets the crowd to cheer for him, shows respect, which is interesting.
Yeah, after all that violence.
Both look like they've been through a war. Freak's bleeding from staples, screws. Lexi's bruised, gashed, staples in their own head. Freak apparently just starts pulling staples out of his own head right there.
Ugh, gross. But
Yeah.
very Freak.
Totally. And then Sentai Ranger tries to attack Nova, slips on the ropes, knocks himself out cold. Just one final bit of chaos.
Perfect ending for that match, sounds like. So the main event really established Lexi as a major hardcore force, showcased Freak, brought Nova back into the picture significantly, and left things a bit messy.
Absolutely. And the sources then give us the backstage fallout, which is just as crucial.
Okay, what happened after the cameras stopped rolling?
First, they reiterate, yeah, Bruiser and Chris definitely got put through tables by 9/11. That feud is on.
Confirmed.
Then we see Freak and Lexi talking. Mutual respect after their war. Freak jokes he forgot a fortune cookie quote he wanted to say before hitting Lexi with the mic.
Ah, that's amazing.
Yeah, just them being weird. Lexi appreciates the match, then gets taken off her stitches, shows the physical toll.
Right. Then what?
Then the big drama. Bruiser confronts Nova. He's upset, blaming her, Jax, Sterling for his bad night for not being there earlier.
Okay, understandable frustration.
But Nova, who was genuinely late from her salon, is frustrated he's just assuming things. Tells him to talk to Sterling first, not Toby.
Toby. Using Jack's real name shows how close they are.
Exactly. And then, the big reveal. Nova shows Bruiser her hand. She's wearing an engagement ring.
Wait, whose ring?
Bruiser's. They got engaged during the break.
Whoa, okay, that changes everything. No wonder Bruiser's head is spinning. That adds a huge personal layer.
Massive. Bruiser's stunned. He then goes and finds Sterling, Jack, and Earl Edwards all together, described as looking thick as thieves.
Not a good look if you're a bruiser.
No. He demands answers about Jack, the secrecy, the attack. Sterling just kind of dismisses the unmasking part as good TV, says it made the fans explode. Business first.
Ouch, cold.
Sterling explains Jack wanted a new direction, maybe tagging with Earl, using his real name, Casey, here. He even implies Bruiser's past actions involving Jack's mother were why their team ended. Shifts the blame a bit.
Bringing up Jack's mom, that's low.
Yeah. Sterling insists Jack's focused on the IC title now, not Bruiser. Frames the whole lack of communication as just being between Bruiser and Jack. Claims he didn't know Malister was coming either.
So Sterling's washing his hands of it, basically. Lots of plausible deniability.
Seems like it. Jack pops his head out briefly, tells Bruiser he wants to do something new and different, reiterates the IC title goal, and basically says, stay out of my way unless you get a stick up your bum again, then shuts the door.
Just leaves Bruiser hanging? Wow. The lack of communication is staggering.
It really is. Bruiser's left reeling. Notes that even Lexi knew Jack was there and didn't say anything. The secrecy is what's getting to him.
You see Freak watching all this unfold, eating fortune cookies, just observing the drama.
Perfect Freak moment.
Yeah.
Chris tries to comfort Bruiser like, hey, we still got the tag titles.
Yeah.
Bruiser kind of admits he's acting just like Jack used to act towards him. Turnabout, fair play maybe, but he's still furious he was kept in the dark.
Understandable. So these backstage scenes really show the clash, don't they? Booking strategy, personal history, secrets, miscommunication, all boiling over.
Exactly. It's the human element behind the storylines.
So after all that chaos and drama, what's actually announced for the next show? Where does this lead immediately?
Okay, they announced the next taping is in 2 weeks with 2 special tag matches booked.
Tag matches. Interesting.
First, Lexi and the Freak teaming up.
What? After that brutal match, they're teaming.
Yep. In a no DQ tag match against the Gentry, doesn't specify which members. Probably Earl and Jack. That partnership suggests the match really did build respect between Lexi and Freak.
That's unexpected. What's the second tag match?
Actually, correction, the second match announced is Lexi versus Jack, singles match.
Ah, okay. Lexi versus Jack. Directly connecting that FCW history to RCW right away. Makes sense.
And then the other big match for the tag titles, it's Bruiser and Chris defending against 9/11.
In what kind of match? Has to be something fitting.
Ambulance match.
Perfect. Fits the medic promo, the attack. That's going to be brutal.
Yeah. And the notes mention Jack overhears this and apparently says, glad I don't have to do that, while Bruiser brings up Freak's unlicensed ambulance driving from some past incident.
Huh. Another callback. These guys have long memories. The history runs deep.
Wow. Okay. We really did take a deep dive there. Those transcripts from RCW's return, just packed. Strategic moves, shocking reveals, personal drama colliding with business.
It really was more than just a wrestling show, wasn't it? It felt like peeling back layers of a really complex story playing out on screen and off.
Absolutely. And looking at it this way kind of shows you, doesn't it? Understanding any complex situation, whether it's this wrestling world or just information overload in general, it's not just about the big headline.
Right. It's about the messy stuff, too. The personal details, the secrets, the communication breakdowns, the hidden agendas, the things happening behind the scenes that can totally flip the script.
Exactly. Even carefully planned narratives can just go completely haywire when personal history and, well, secrets get involved. Things people didn't know or didn't tell each other.
Yeah. Makes you think.
So maybe here's a final thought for you listening to all this unfold. In a world where personal history, things left unsaid, hidden motives are always intersecting with the main story, who can you really trust? And how are these really deep, tangled relationships and rivalries going to evolve when so much is clearly happening behind the curtain? What does it even mean to be well-informed when the most critical details might be kept secret until they just explode onto the scene, like Jack's mask coming off?